What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my world of stocks, and welcome back to my Stocks My Viewers Want Me to Review series, where I pick a comment straight from you guys asking me to review a particular stock, and then I make that video for you. Now, if you want to see past episodes, I'll link the playlist for you down in the description, and if you want to be featured in a future video, then all you have to do is leave a comment down here, either in this video or in our community Discord, since I will be trying to kind of go back and forth between the two in the future. But for today's episode, we will be using the Discord, where in the video suggestions thread, we had Jason ask, "Hi Ale, if you get a chance, could you please do a video on the Reddit IPO? Looks interesting and I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you." Well, you are very welcome, Jason, and thank you, by the way, for being a patron of mine. That really means a lot to me. It helps me out a lot, so thank you. And also thank you for the request of this video. Now, I am, of course, more than happy to do this video for you because Reddit is a very popular social media platform, and they are, like you said, set to IPO very soon, which is pretty exciting. So there is a bit of buzz going around it. Now, it's a little hard to do a type of like, is it a buy kind of video for a stock that hasn't officially IPO'd yet, because we don't know exactly where that valuation is going to end up at, but we do at least have an idea of where they're hoping to trade for, and we also have some information about their recent business performance too. So I'll do my best to kind of put all of this information together for you guys. I'll give you my overall opinion on it, including, of course, whether I plan to buy the stock myself after it IPOs. So let's not waste any time here. Let's just go ahead and jump into this, and let's start with just a really quick recap into what Reddit does, and then we'll dive into that stock and the IPO right after that. All right, now chances are pretty high that most of you have heard of Reddit and maybe even used it a few times too, at least perhaps through Google search, where you're perhaps researching a certain topic or question, and you see all of those Reddit chat rooms pop up where other people are discussing the same topic. And that's really what Reddit mostly is. It's just this giant social media platform filled with various chat rooms that are created by other users, all under subreddits that are monitored or controlled by what we call Reddit moderators. For example, on this front page here, you can see various subreddits related to entertainment, sports, technology, video games, anime, and more. In fact, I actually used Reddit recently myself to browse topics related to the OnePlus Open, which is a new folding phone that I was trying to decide on purchasing. So I visited some of the chat rooms where people were talking about it, giving their thoughts on it, and it kind of helped me with my purchasing decision. I also visited another subreddit called Sealed MTG Deals, which is a subreddit that alerts me of any new price deals or sales for Magic the Gathering, which is a trading card game that I recently started playing with friends. And I even visited a Mortal Kombat one too, where users were discussing the most recent video game on Xbox. Anyway, the point is that you can get all kinds of useful information from Reddit, especially if there's a lot of users that are contributing to that information as well, whether it's for, cooking or playing games or learning about some other random subject, whatever it is. Chances are you can get a lot of good information on Reddit about whatever it is that you're looking into. And just to give you some examples of the sheer size of some of these, well, the popular video game Minecraft already has over 7 million members in its subreddit, where cryptocurrency also has over 7 million. Dogecoin alone has 2.5 million. The movie subreddit has over 30 million. And of course, who can forget Wall Street Bets, which is especially well known in our community, in our field of stock market investing, as they've garnered over 15 million members already, who at times have been able to send certain meme stocks skyrocketing, like with GameStop, AMC, and more, just by getting most of their members to buy the stock at once and cause a giant short squeeze. So you can really see the power in some of these chat rooms as well. In total, though, the entire platform itself gets over 70 million daily active users, which are unique accounts, over 250 million weekly active active users, which are also unique accounts. And they also have over 100,000 active communities and over 16 billion posts and comments. So obviously this is a very large platform overall that we're talking about here. I mean, obviously that user count is not going to be in the several billions like it is for Meta with Facebook and Instagram, but you're still talking hundreds of millions of people here, which is nothing to sneeze at. And we'll talk more about what this means for their financials and their business performance in just a second. But first, let's just take a quick look at that upcoming IPO. Now, in terms of when it's going to actually happen, well, Reddit is aiming to go public later this week on March 21st, where it'll hope to sell shares for $31 to $34 a piece, raising hundreds of millions of dollars for the company and targeting a valuation of roughly $6.5 billion, which we'll also talk more about in just a second when we go over their financials and stock valuation. But in terms of what it will actually do with some of that money, well, Reddit is hoping that by going public, they'll be able to fund more of their community programs and enhance the overall platform, opening up things like new contributor and developer programs, as well as a community marketplace, and even advancing their work in AI and e-commerce. In fact, up until recently, many companies were actually using Reddit's data to train their own large language models without even paying for it. But after updating their APIs, well, Reddit has now been able to monetize their data and charge fees for that usage, which could be a great way of, diversifying their business away from just relying solely on their advertisement revenue alone. In fact, already this year, Reddit reported over $200 million worth of new data licensing contracts to other companies. Now, these contracts do appear to be at least a couple years in length, but already more than $60 million has been guaranteed for just this year alone. And even Google, by the way, the giant Google, well, they're also paying more than $60 million for that data as well. And Google, of course, has been really building up one of the largest AI models in the world recently with Gemini. And yeah, this right here, this is probably the most exciting or kind of compelling piece of the whole Reddit story in terms of, talking about that stock IPO and going into the future, licensing out their massive pool of user generated data that can continue to grow. And, ideally it would get a lot larger over time as they gain even more users too that can contribute more to that. Because if there's one thing that we all know about artificial intelligence, and especially these really hyped up, really hot new generative AI and large language models that everyone's talking about these days, well, it's that data will be their primary fuel source. We all know that. And data is, of course, what Reddit has a lot of. So it's extremely valuable. Now, in combination to that, in the IPO filing, they also mentioned that in addition to licensing out their data, they hope to add commerce to the platform as well to help them diversify even further, which who knows how viable that will actually end up being. But we have seen similar partnerships in the past from Amazon with other social media companies too. So there may actually be some potential there for online shopping. Like, for example, maybe you're browsing a topic related to a product that you're thinking about purchasing yourself. Well, having some targeted ads right there, or even the actual product itself available for purchase, well, that could be a great way of generating more revenue for this company here going forward, which I do think that they're going to desperately need, as the business itself up until now, for me, it doesn't impress me really at all. In fact, let's take a look at some of those financials right now. Now, I took this screenshot here from the IPO filing, and I highlighted 2022 numbers in yellow and 2023 numbers in green so that it's easier to differentiate the two. But basically, we had sales increase from around $667 million up to over $800 million last year, which is a good sign, don't get me wrong, as it's outpacing the rise in total costs and expenses, which is also helping to slowly bring their total losses down. However, I don't think it's good enough growth for the valuation that they're seeking. In fact, that revenue growth was only around 20%, which is a hard pill to swallow when you're talking over $140 million of operating loss, over $90 million of net loss, and still about $85 million of free cash flow loss too, which gets even scarier when you consider the valuation. Now, This comes straight from Seeking Alpha here, who even used a much more conservative market cap at IPO of just 5.1 billion, which is way lower than what Reddit was seeking. But even there, it would still give them a really high price to sales ratio above 6.4. Now, generally, we consider a good PS to be around 1 or less, although we do often, let it go higher for things like tech companies or high growth companies, or at least very profitable companies. But in the case of Reddit, you're talking about a PS here that is way higher than its peers. In fact, it's over 400% higher than the sector median. It's also close to double that of Snapchat. It's significantly higher than Google, who is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best company and stock in the entire market right now. And it's only slightly lower than Pinterest and Meta, which, by the way, Pinterest has been cash flow positive by hundreds of millions of dollars, for years, and Meta is one of the most profitable companies in the entire world. So it's not even close to me. Reddit stock looks insanely overpriced here. And sure, sometimes the valuation ends up not mattering as much as we think it would, especially when there's a lot of hype behind a stock here. And sometimes that can be enough to drive up the price, which, by the way, Reddit is also allowing various insiders and employees and even Reddit users to buy into the IPO at the IPO price through their reserved shares, which could help drive the stock up higher, and at least initially, although there are also no restrictions to selling any of those shares, which, typically insiders would have to hold on to stock at IPO for several months, but that's not the case here. So being able to sell immediately, that's probably going to cause a ton of volatility for the stock early on. But regardless, I'm getting a little off topic here. The point is, what I'm talking about here is the fundamentals of it all. And when we look at the fundamentals, I just think that this is a pretty big stretch here for the stock to be valued so high, to be valued this expensively. Maybe I could justify some of it if we at least had really high revenue growth to help them reach profitability sooner. But again, we only saw revenues grow by 20% last year. And by the way, according to Seeking Alpha, management has also indicated that they only expect around 20% growth this year as well. Guys, that's just way too low for this valuation. Even Google and Meta sometimes still put up similar top line growth even at their already massive size. And they're of course much safer, more diversified. They're on another universe when it comes to profitability too. Meanwhile, Reddit was founded almost 20 years ago and is still somehow losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And by the way, they also reportedly, they even paid their CEO close to $200 million last year while burning all of that cash. I'm sure most of that was in stock and options, so I'm sure he didn't get anywhere close to that amount. But, just the fact that they were at least even trying to pay one person anything close to that amount of money when your company is doing so poorly on the bottom line, that's just such a bad job, in my opinion, by management there. Why would you be doing that? Anyway, because of all of this, I'm just so torn on what exactly to expect from this stock. I do think that they have huge potential for licensing out their data in the future, but it's just a little too early to know how much all of that is going to contribute to them early on. And I also think that short term, anything can really happen here. I think it's going to be super volatile from the IPO. But, potentially it could also rise. Just from hype alone. We did see Pinterest climb 3 to 4 times higher after IPOing before falling back down, but they also had much better financials, so it's not really a fair comparison. But you can kind of see how I'm just all over the place with this stock. I really don't know what to make of it. Now, I will give you an overall conclusion. I will give you my final thoughts in just a second. I'll give you a more definitive answer. But I do also just kind of want to leave you with this first. Some comments here from analysts just to show you how divided everyone is on this stock. Here's some bearish comments here from some analysts at Trivariat Research. And they say that while IPO stocks tend to have strong first day showings, returns for the first year are generally weak. And since 2020, the average IPO has lagged its industry average by 30% over the subsequent 3 years following its closing price. This one here comes from the CEO of New Constructs, which is an AI-powered research firm, and he said Reddit's IPO marks the return of junk IPOs, as the valuation implies that Reddit will grow its user base to 25 times current levels, which would be nearly 5 times the size of Snapchat, and a highly unlikely feat, adding that Reddit looks looks overvalued and they think investors should pass on the IPO. And there's many other examples just like this of analysts, having similar bearish takes on the stock. You could research it, you could search it up on Google or something, it pops right up. But alternatively, there are some bullish comments too, like this one here from New Street Research. This analyst gave a base valuation case of over $10 billion with a bear case of still over $5 billion and a bull case of over $16 billion, saying that he thinks Reddit will benefit from licensing their data, which could accelerate their revenue growth by as much as 44% this year, with another 34% bump next year as well, which will help them reach adjusted EBITDA profitability as early as this year. How crazy is that? And generate hundreds of millions of dollars every year after. Adding that data licensing could reach over 30% of their total revenue by 2027, with further growth in advertising and online shopping. So I don't know. I don't even know what to make of those comments there. My gut tells me that just so much of this stock here is just purely speculative. I think those bullish comments there from that analyst, I think that was extremely speculative. I don't know where he gets the idea that they're going to be growing sales by that much when management said otherwise. But at the same time, we just don't know how much data licensing is going to contribute to them, which, by the way, I do think is going to be very high margins. So potentially that does actually help them reach profitability a lot sooner than anyone expects. But again, all of that is just speculation. I really feel like I would have to see at least a couple years of performance from them where we see how the data licensing business goes for them. We see how their user counts go. And if they can not only maintain strong user counts, but actually grow those as well. And also add on, more digital advertising and also e-commerce and the other things that they're talking about. But I got to see that happen before I'm ready to throw money into this stock, because in my opinion, for me, I just feel like I can get exposure to literally anything that Reddit does with much larger, safer, even more exciting companies that I would rather invest in. Like whether it's social media, whether it's online advertising, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, data licensing. I can get exposure to all of those things with some great other companies that I talk about all the time on my channel. You guys know about them and I own them in my portfolio. So for me, this one just feels a little too speculative, a little too high risk, especially at a time when the stock market itself is up a huge amount right now. I would just rather invest in something safer, or if I am going to be taking a highly valued stock, I want it to be a little more exciting and something that I believe in a little bit more, that at least has a little bit of exclusivity that I can't get from something else. Not sure if I'm making sense here or if I'm just kind of rambling on, but again, the point is that I don't really know what to make of this stock too much. But for me, it's going to be a pass. I would just rather invest elsewhere at the moment. But I would love to hear what you all have to say down below. What do you think about this one? Are you taking a chance on it? Again, I'm not, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe you are. And maybe in a couple years they start performing a lot better and I rethink my whole thesis on this and maybe I jump into the stock too. But for now, it's going to be a pass. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them down below in the comment section. And I hope that you enjoyed the video regardless. And I hope that you're all doing well, my friends. Thank you again for all your support, for stopping by. And I will catch you in the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.